And Brandon, before we move on into our next topic, make sure to, if you have not already, make sure to go on to iTunes, Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, you're right there. Give us a rate and review. Give us that 5 stars if you think we're worthy. I hope that we're giving you that 5-star treatment that we shoot for each and every podcast. But even if you're on YouTube, if you're on podcast services around the world, make sure to go to Apple Podcasts and iTunes and rate and review the show. But Brandon, we are going to move on from Ohio State into a quarterback that is kind of going to the Buckeyes going, all right, you've got your guy. Bye. See you later. I'm going to go over to the NFL because Justin Fields made his announcement. I want to say it was Friday. And on Friday night, Dwayne Haskins quoted Fields' tweet and just gave the emoji of like, the thinking emoji where he's stroking his chin. Later on, a few days later, Dwayne Haskins commits and declares for the NFL draft. Many people right away, he became the #1 quarterback in the draft class because Justin Herbert, who we're going to talk about later, is not going into the draft, is returning to school. So what I want to ask you is, we know the draft order at the top, all the way until, pick 25 now. That's where the playoff teams are still in it. Arizona is #1. Now, obviously, Arizona doesn't need a quarterback because...
Well, they do, because he's really not... He's not good in the NFL.
We'll see what Ryan Gosling can do with him.
He's really not good in the NFL.
You've got a good-looking coach and a good-looking quarterback now in a city that, doesn't have that many bad days weather-wise. So we'll see what they're able to do as Cliff Kingsbury is now the head coach for Josh Rosen. I almost said Ryan Gosling. But the question I want to ask is, in your mind, will Dwayne Haskins be the #1 overall pick, knowing that if this happens, a team has to trade up for him? So I'm basically asking, will he be the #1 pick, meaning will a team or should a team trade up for Dwayne Haskins?
I'm going to say that, yes, they definitely... that he's definitely going to be the #1 pick, and there's going to be a team that trades up for him, for sure. And I have a team in mind already.
Do it.
Oakland Raiders.
You think they're the one?
Oakland Raiders.
4-1?
Well, the reason I say that is because of everything that happened this past year, of all the draft picks that John Gruden was going after, trying to get him and Derek Carr seeming to just not be on the same page so many times. I think that John Gruden is looking for a new quarterback, and I think, why not try and go after the best quarterback that you have in the draft? However, he could be looking down the line to the next quarterback class, possibly, where you'll most likely have Justin Herbert. You'll have who else is going to be in that quarterback class?
You've got Herbert, Tua,
yeah,
and then also Jake Fromm as well. Because I found it interesting that Joel Klatt today on First Things First, when asked about the draft class last year, mentioned Tua, mentioned Fromm, didn't mention Herbert at all. He just said, oh, boy, you'll have Tua, you'll have Fromm. And then that was it. And I was like, oh, really? No mention of Justin Herbert, who would have been the top quarterback in this one. So really the top three, Tua, Fromm, and Herbert in any order that you want to do, because it's way too early to look at the 2020 NFL draft in my mind.
Well, I think that I'm still gonna stick with the Oakland Raiders because they just don't quite know what's going on over there. But I also think that it would make some sense. It would make some sense. Also, a team that might want to jump up there, the Washington Redskins. They are looking for a quarterback at every corner. Are you healthy? Are you healthy?
Well,
Can you throw it?
They had 2 break their leg. Literally break their leg.
Well, I know, but they also had one. I mean, Alex Smith, don't count him back to football. I mean, do not count on him coming back to football.
Yeah.
And that's sad to say, but with what happened with his injury, and it is horrible, he may be done. His career might be done. Nothing has come out and said that for certain, but
because he also had the infection too, right?
Yeah, well, that's where he wasn't even sure if he was going to keep his leg. I mean, if he could come back from that, it'd be a great story to be able to get back and do that. And of course, you always want to encourage and do things like that. I still think that the Washington Redskins could be one of those teams that jumps up to do that because they've gone after quarterbacks like that before. That are, I think, a little bit of a dual threat there, and that is what Dwayne Haskins is. He is a dual threat type of quarterback that can do it all. A really great thrower. But I don't know. I do not think that we're going to be seeing a Dwayne Haskins that would be similar to a Lamar Jackson. No one can be Lamar Jackson with how good he is with running the football as well. But it seems like that could be definitely a fit. Washington, possibly Oakland.
Well, and here's the thing, and of course with me, this is about the time right after the national championship where it's like all the college games are done. I really start diving into the film and kind of dissecting these prospects. And the one thing I heard today, obviously going to reference back to it because it was probably the only thing I was able to watch today, was in that Joel Klatt segment on First Things First. When they asked him about Dwayne Haskins, the thing that I found interesting is he said that to him, he feels like a team like the Giants would be a good fit for him because he's able to sit behind Eli and he'll do better sitting behind a pro. The thing I'm going to say will he be the number one overall pick? At this point, I'm going to say yes because of two reasons. Number one, somebody's going to get antsy. Somebody is going to get antsy and say, we need a quarterback. The Raiders, I actually like them because Derek Carr, the way you have it is Derek Carr is under contract for 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 4 years. Now, that could be a little sketchy with Dwayne Haskins. Maybe towards the end of that, if you trade up for Dwayne, maybe year 2019, maybe 2020 at the least, he's sitting behind Derek Carr, so you can still maybe be bad and soak up these picks.
Can I be honest with you?
You start him right away?
I was just going to say that I could see somebody trading to get Derek Carr and then Dwayne Haskins coming in being the guy right out of the gate.
Because I've got two other teams that I think could do it. I don't know fit-wise, but I think that he's going to be the number one overall pick. And the reason why I say that is there are too many teams this year. You've got the Raiders who could use a quarterback. You've got Tampa Bay at 5. Bruce Arians has just been named their head coach. How comfortable is he with Jameis Winston? And also,
I think he's pretty comfortable, actually.
Dwayne Haskins could sit behind Winston. I am not comfortable with Winston. That's why I bring them up. You have the Giants who could be looking for a quarterback. You have Jacksonville that could be looking for a quarterback. You have Denver that could be looking for a quarterback. That's 5 teams. Miami, Washington, already 7 teams of the 32 in the league who could use quarterbacks. And I would say those 7 are the only ones that I would think of. Maybe Tennessee, if you're on like the Mark Webber train of Mark Webber he always loves to throw out how, Marcus Mariota hasn't been the healthiest quarterback for the Titans in his career. But that is why I think he will be the number one pick, is one of the 7 teams that I mentioned is going to trade up for the Cardinals. And it would be smart for the Cardinals to do it because I think the Cardinals are in a sticky situation. Because if they stay at 1, you take Nick Bosa, but Nick Bosa isn't one of your needs. Jonah Williams is a need. Greedy Williams is a need. Like, you could trade down to
Dwayne
4.
Haskins is a need.
Well, I mean, you got
Josh Rosen's crap. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He is. We've seen what he can be this
Steve
year.
Wilkes was crap, but that's okay.
But look. I mean, I understand that they don't have a great offense.
They don't even have an offensive line.
I can completely understand that, but there wasn't anything that he did that was super overwhelming to even in one game go, I have faith. I think every game you looked at it and went, wow, when's he gonna take the leap? When's he gonna take the next step to actually be the guy that he's supposed to be on this team?
Did any of the rookie quarterbacks besides Baker and Lamar show you that, though? Like, Baker and Lamar were the only ones that showed us.
I think Sam Darnold showed some real promise. He was hurt a little bit, but I think Sam Darnold showed some real promise.
He was good early in the year, but after that, he wasn't great.
But he showed some real promise. He's on the Jets.
That's what I'm saying about Josh Rosen. He's on the Cardinals.
But he didn't show anything. he didn't show anything.
This is me. I am going to blame Steve Wilks this year before I blame Josh Rosen.
I'm not going to blame Steve Wilks. See, I'm not going to blame Steve Wilks.
Because I don't think he should have been hired in the first place.
Well, he probably shouldn't have been fired after 1 year. I mean, that's pretty crappy, too.
Good.
No, well, when you're given a roster that sucks, it's hard to really be good. Mm-hmm. And when you're given a roster where one of your best players is Larry Fitzgerald, all respect in the world to Larry Fitzgerald, you're 50 years old. So when that is your best player, it's tough to build around the guy who is going to possibly retire at the end of this season, who may only have 1 season left. That's really hard. But Rosen, clearly, it just didn't seem, even with Byron Leftwich coming in, being the offensive coordinator, doing all that stuff, it didn't seem like things really got better. David Johnson was really pretty pathetic most of the season. You're right, offensive line was bad. But there just wasn't much that Josh Rosen did that I said, wow, man, he looks like he could really be a playmaker in the future. So if the Cardinals were to take Dwayne Haskins, I would not in the least bit be surprised.
Well, I mean, and the thing, and I know that this is getting a little bit too into Cardinal football, but hey,
I know.
It's the topic is, this is what I thought of why they fired Steve Wilks, is they probably looked at and they said, hey, we gave you Josh Rosen. We gave you the quarterback that most people, I know I said it all throughout draft season last year. Oh, he's probably the most NFL-ready quarterback. And they probably looked and said, we gave you the most NFL-ready quarterback, and that's what you gave us? Like, we're done with this experiment. Like, that's why I think they're doing the whole 180 and going from defensive guy Steve Wilks to offensive guy who could maybe work with Josh Rosen in Kingsbury, but
they want the next Sean McVay. Everyone does.
Everyone's searching for him. And the thing that I think is Arizona is going to trade the pick, because I feel like some team, because just if I go off of what Joe Klett said today, of like, oh, he'd be better sitting behind someone. Miami could trade up. They've got Tannehill, where he could sit behind Tannehill for 1-2 years. And that is just like a sit behind, like,
all he would
Aaron
need is
Rodgers
1 day to sit behind Tannehill and say, why am I sitting behind him?
Well, Tannehill would get injured, and then Dwayne Haskins would be in the game. Or a team like Denver. Denver has Case Keenum under contract for 1 more year. You sit under Case Keenum for 1 year, you get the job in 2020. If you show it and you basically prove it, you're not going to get handed anything in the NFL. I mean, other than that, I mean, Washington's tricky because he'd be thrown out there right away because of their situation. The Giants, he could sit behind Eli. The question is, would they trade up for him, though? And Jacksonville, you'd be starting right away. The question that I would ask for you, and this could change team to team, but just you, if you are a general manager of a football team and you need a quarterback this year, you're one of the teams that need a quarterback, what are you more likely to do? Trade for the number 1 pick in order to get Dwayne Haskins, a young rookie? Or would you say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll look at Joe Flacco, I'll look at Nick Foles and get one of them instead? Should these quarterback needy teams go that route over trading for the number 1 pick and getting Dwayne Haskins?
Well, it really depends on how much you value experience over someone who's going to be fresh coming in that you can maybe help mold and really work into a system. We know what we're going to get from Joe Flacco. Very, very bland and boring. We know what we're going to get from Nick Foles, or at least Nick Foles when he plays for the Eagles. I don't know if Nick Foles has the same magic for another team.
Because we saw what he was. He almost quit football when he played for Jeff Fisher.
Well, most people did. But I think that I am really not in awe by the quarterback class this year for the in the NFL in terms of the free agent class.
Oh, okay.
Is what I'm saying. I'm sorry, the free agent class. I didn't word that correctly.
I was going to say
the free agent class.
In the rookie class, Brandon's just got one guy. It's Will Grier.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Okay, let me be. But I
Brandon sees running backs as Dave Montgomery, quarterbacks Will Grier.
You got it.
Yeah.
And David Montgomery, he did
declare.
He did declare, yes. No, I think the free agent market for quarterbacks in the NFL this offseason, it's extremely weak, and I'm passing up on going for Flacco or Foles, and I'm going for Dwayne Haskins. That's what I would be doing. But I also have to look at how much are you want me to give up? How, if you're the Cardinals, how much do I have to give you? Because I can't give you my whole defense.
Well, let's just see.
And that's about what they need.
Well, there's not just that. I mean, the thing also, like you mentioned the Raiders, the thing that's interesting is they also have the Bears. I know it will probably be a low pick next year too because the Bears did good this year. But they also have the Bears first rounder next year. And like the Raiders are an interesting one that you threw out there because they're a team where you might not have to give up that 4th overall pick to get the Cardinal pick. I would think you'd have to if I'm the Cardinals. I don't want to give up the number 1 pick and fall all the way to 24 unless I'm getting like the Raider pick next year. Like I would think that the Raiders would say the number 4 pick has to be in your package because I wouldn't want to fall back that far. I would want to make sure I get one of my core needs, a Jonah Williams, a Greedy Williams, in the top 10 in the first round. But, like, that's the interesting thing with them. They have picks. And the thing that I go back to is, let's see, was it the 2017 draft? No, not 2017. I got to go back a little further, 2016. Because we did have, 2016 draft. When Tennessee traded the number 1 pick, the Jared Goff pick, so the Rams moved up. What pick were they this year? The Rams were the 15th pick that year. So put it into comparison, that'd be like the Redskins trading up. And what they gave up for the number 1 overall pick was Tennessee gave the Rams its 1st, 4th, and 6th selections in exchange for the 1st rounder, a 2nd rounder, and a 3rd rounder. Plus, they got a 1st and 3rd the year after as well. So the asking price, of course, the Rams got a 4th and a 6th, but basically they were giving up 3 picks, a 1st, a 3rd, a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd, plus a 1st and a 3rd next year. That was the asking price to move up from 15 to 1 in 2016.
It's a lot. It's steep. But at the same time, how long do you want to continue to be the current Redskins? How long do you want to be the current Redskins? Because before it was, we're very bland and we're very much not exciting with Kirk Cousins. That's what it was before. That's why they were willing to let Kirk Cousins go. And now we found out maybe Kirk Cousins, well, he was part of the problem. But I think also you have to look at how much longer are we okay with just being mediocre and going 7-9? Well, we're not the worst team in the NFL, but we're certainly not the best. We're right in the middle. Well, it's another winning season then. We're at 7-9. You know, how much longer are you going to keep Jay Gruden around? You need to make some moves here if you're Washington. And going and getting a guy like a Dwayne Haskins shows you are committed to being better. It shows your fan base you're committed to being better. It shows your team you're committed to going younger, going after this young quarterback, and saying, guys, we are going to actually make an investment in our future, go get this guy, mold him, and hopefully he's going to end up being one of the best picks we've ever had and one of the best things for Washington.
And I mean, to look at it this way, if you're looking at it from a Raiders standpoint, because the Raiders are closer, 1-4, look at the Mitch Trubisky trade. Of course, those were back-to-back 2nd and 3rd, but San Francisco gave up that 2nd overall pick. They got the 3rd overall pick, a 3rd and a 4th, plus a 3rd the year after. So, I mean, you could be looking at a similar price this year for that. Last question I'm going to ask you has to do with the Cardinals, because they're the ones trading.
I mean, this has been the Cardinals segment.
Basically, you're the GM of the Cardinals. Congratulations.
That's a fun job to have.
Come draft day, Goodell is going up to the podium with your pick or your trade. what have you done? Would you be a GM that trades the pick, or are you a GM that says, you know what, Nick Bosa's a guy I can't pass on. We're taking him at number 1.
No, I would pass on him easily, because what I would like to do is I would like to talk with teams, and personally, this is me, and this is completely...
You want future firsts?
I don't really care about draft picks.
Oh,
I want
veterans.
players. I'm not necessarily saying that they need to be veterans. I'm not going to go and get Saquon Barkley. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But maybe some guys who've been in the league a couple of years at least, a little bit more established guys, but guys in the juju kind of. I'm not saying I'm going after a wide receiver, but guys who have been in it for a little bit but aren't so old where it's like, well, that was worthless. I'm bigger on that. I'm bigger on players. Maybe throw in a draft pick or 2, but I want to see some players. That's why so many times the draft is a great thing. It's fun, but how many times have we seen a guy that ends up just being horrible? We've seen too many Jamarcus Russells, I think. I want a guy who's been established in the NFL for a little bit, who I can go and get, and who is probably... what he's been doing, he's probably going to continue to do that. That's what I want to do. I really don't care about draft picks. That's also probably why no one would let me be their GM. But they don't matter to me because there's too many opportunities to get it wrong. Whereas opposed to if I go after this player...
Yeah, I mean, you could be Mike Mayock.
I'm going to probably get it right.
Yeah, and I mean, that makes sense because and I'm not saying this to be like an ass or anything, you're a baseball guy. And in baseball, draft picks aren't as, unless you're getting like a Kyle Schwarber, what we think Kyler Murray will be, a Steven Strasburg, a Bryce Harper. Usually draft picks in the MLB are like, okay, I'll see you in 3 years. All right, I'll see you in 4 years after you kind of microwave and cook in the minor leagues and get ready to come up. Not many of them come over like right away.
Yeah.
Like Chris Bryant, that was probably a better one because Schwarber was in the minors a little bit longer. Any final thoughts on this before we move on into Justin Herbert?
I think it's really interesting because I do think that Dwayne Haskins is going to end up being, if the Cardinals, most likely, because I don't know if they'll listen to me and take him because they should, but if the Cardinals do not take him, he's the number 2 pick.
Okay.
And if the Cardinals...
Well, yeah, because the 49ers will make a trade.
Or they'll the Cardinals are either trading or he's going to be the number 2 pick because there are too many teams out there that are quarterback needy, didn't get one of the guys last year, and probably didn't even think that they were going to have a chance at one of those type of guys this year. But with Dwayne Haskins saying he's coming out, that's giving some teams hope. Teams like a Washington hope or a Miami or whoever it might be. And, Denver definitely could be a dark horse because people think, oh, well, they have Case Keenum. Yeah, it was a tough year, but he's locked in for a couple of seasons. Don't be thinking because Elway's not going to have 3 losing seasons in a row. He could definitely be going and scheming right now. And
I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm going to say this during the onside kick because we're going to talk about best fits for Dwayne Haskins on that show. The Denver Broncos, to me, if they hire Vic Fangio, go get yourself Dwayne Haskins. The reason why, Vic Fangio, been with the Chicago Bears. If he gets a guy that can run an offense similar to what Nagy's had, Dwayne Haskins, to me, does what Trubisky does better. And that's just, I just think that Haskins is going to be a better athlete. He's going to be able to throw that deep ball, and he fits what you want to do in this NFL with kind of a not mobile, but yes, mobile kind of quarterback who can throw it deep. Kind of like what we're all going to hype over with Tua. I know he had one bad game, but I mean, the Clemson Tigers game planned for him for a month, so they should have beat him up yesterday. But let us know what you guys think. What do you guys... Is he going to be the number 1 pick? Is Dwayne Haskins going number 1? Will someone trade up for him? Will he not? Will he go to the Giants at 7? Will he fall that far? Will he go to 2? Or I think they're at 6, actually, if I'm getting it right. Or will he go to Jacksonville, who's right after them, at 7? Let us know what you guys think down below.